welcome to CPC102. This class is going to have a different focus than our CPC101 class. Instead of looking at masters, we're just going to look at concepts concerning color. And so there's going to be kind of two parts to this lecture course. In that the first half is going to be associated with the ideas of observation. So we're going to see colors, learn how to accurately mix them and apply them. The second portion of it is going to bring into account some of the theoretical concepts concerning color, ideas that you may have heard about briefly or in extent if you've had any painting classes, things like warm and cool and how those work in a painting, and among other things. So the first part is going to be very practical. It's going to be how do I observe and mix, and then the second portion is going to be all those kind of conceptual things that we have to deal with and make sure it works with our drawing. It's almost the same as how we executed the drawing program, in that the first term it was all observe and record. Second term we introduced some anatomy to it, and we use that anatomy not to produce a drawing, but to just check a drawing. And this color class is going to be the same way. The first portion of it, you're going to learn how to observe and record, and then the second portion, you're going to learn the guiding concepts to make sure that you did, in fact, accurately observe and record the color in your painting. So there's a little bit of similarity there. The way it's going to be set up, it's not going to be like a full lecture class. It is a studio class, not a lecture class. But you will have a lecture each day, and the first portion of each class, which can range anywhere from 15 minutes up to an hour or so, will be me giving a lecture on whatever it is we're talking about. For example, introduction of terms and the idea of red, yellow, and blue, or maybe it's the idea of values versus chroma and how that affects our perceptions, or maybe it's a lecture on how we go about making color charts. So it'll be me giving you a bunch of information, and then after that we'll have an assignment associated with that lecture. I'll try to, given enough time, do a demonstration for you to know, so you know exactly what we're trying to achieve. There may not be enough time for that. This class does tend to run kind of tight because we're trying to cover so many bases. But the idea is hopefully you'll have an hour or two to knock out one of these exercises. So if you're working at home, it should be explanatory enough in the description in the textbook and on the video here what exactly you're trying to achieve, even if there's not a full detailed demonstration. The concepts should be straightforward. So for example, one of the assignments is to get a white cube or something like a white cube and then light it with a blue light, light it with a yellow light, light it with a green light, and then try to paint the relationship of color so that it looks like that cube is existing in all those lighting conditions. You don't really need a demonstration to do that because you'll just have had the lecture describing those concepts. So it's basically you just trying to apply that knowledge to the assignment. We're working in class here for the amount of time we have, and I'll try to get around to everybody and make sure that we do in fact understand the concepts. And these are things that you should do enough to make sure you know them really well. It's not like you just come in and have the lecture and, oh, that was interesting, and then you go home and never use that again. Each little thing that we learn, each topic we do in here is going to contribute to you making a good painting, a nicely colored painting. And it's all these little tidbits of information that are going to come together and determine whether or not your painting is believable or not. So you do have to make sure you understand this, and not just understand the exercise, but you need to really understand the conceptual ideas behind each of these topics and work on them or ask questions about them until you really do understand the concepts. So that's how it's going to be set up. One of the requirements for this class is that you do execute color charts. I've liked to do it in the past where the students have an hour or so in class, towards the end of class, once they finish their color study exercise, to work on the charts, pull it out and start mixing the color and laying it down, just to make sure that you're on the right track. So I've had students go home and just blow through the color charts, do them in 5, 6, 7 hours, and then bring them all in. And there's 20 charts. It's not like it should be a fast thing. You know, it'll probably take a couple hours on each chart if you're doing it correctly, you know, observing, thinking about it, and executing it correctly. So if you're able to do some of them in class or a portion of one in class, that'll allow me to watch you, make sure you are doing it correctly and it's looking how it's supposed to look before you get too far into it. And I do encourage you to bring them in as you go. I don't want you to just do them all at once and then bring them in. Every time that's happened, they've not been done correctly. The students have to redo them. It's just like the anatomy drawings that we did last year. You know, the first few were almost never good enough, and there's always something to improve on. And if you just shoot through all of them and bring them in all at once, then you have a whole book full of bad drawings. So I want to give you feedback and give you critique and make sure you're doing the assignment right, getting the most out of each assignment, and also ending up with a product, the charts, that you can use when we're mixing color in the future here. You know, when I first did the color charts, I brought them with me to the palette and chisel every single day. I put them in a backpack and brought them downtown with me so that I could use them while I was painting, until after using them for something like a year, I was comfortable enough remembering how to make those mixtures, how to identify those mixtures, that I didn't require the charts anymore. So I don't want you to just do these charts again and forget about them. You do the charts and use them. They're a tool for you, much like the value scale was a tool for you last year. You know, I wanted you to bring the value scale with you all the time because it was so important throughout the whole year. Same is going to be true with the color charts. So that's one aspect of the class. And even if you don't have time to finish the color exercise that we're working on and pull out the color charts and do those, then at least bring in the charts you're doing at home so that I can keep up with you and give you some comments and feedback. So that's how the course is going to work. It's the lecture portion in the morning, and then followed by perhaps a brief demonstration, and then you're going to try and do the color exercise, and then if there's time, we're going to do color charts. It's a lot of stuff to cram into a short amount of time, so we need to make sure that we're all here, ready to go, on point, without delays, all set up, ready to go.